Hello, beautiful souls. Today, I want to talk about some of my personal biggest takeaways from working with plant medicine, more specifically ayahuasca. And my journey with ayahuasca has really only just begun, I feel. And I feel like it's becomes a lifelong path for many who step into working with this divine teacher that is incarnated here on the earth in the form of plants. And, now I've done quite a few ceremonies, but I just wanted to talk about my most recent ceremony and in ceremonies when I get to participate and share music, share my voice, it's one of the most rewarding uh, gifts that I feel I have the opportunity in sharing, and it's very liberating and empowering. But I also want to mention that before I ever started working with medicine, I was empowering myself to share music in that way, and without medicine in that space is incredibly empowering to be able to share the gift of sound and the instrument of the voice. So, most of my teachings are around the voice and vocal empowerment and utilizing our voice for change in our own personal reality and therefore the rest of the world. If we don't like something that we see in the world, then change it. And how can we do that? By empowering ourselves from within to make different choices and to speak upon things that might be uncomfortable. So, today I just want to share with you a little bit more about this recent journey where one of the main teaching that was coming through was about accountability. Because I noticed within my community, a lot of blaming, a lot of shaming happening, and uh, not a lot of personal accountability coming through. And I feel that whenever we have this opportunity to look at others and have that discernment of how others are showing up in their lives, and if they're not taking accountability, it's an immediate reflection to also check in with ourselves and look at where we are not taking personal accountability. Because if we expect others in our reality to take accountability, we also need to take a step back. And it's not about blame, shame, or projecting onto others or ourselves, truly, but it's just about having that personal integrity. And in creating that personal integrity, that personal accountability, we first have to understand what our values are, what our morals are, and where we need to take more action to create healthier dynamics and relationships with our own being. Because it always comes back to the being. And I believe that is part of the liberation of our self and our returning to that state of equilibrium and returning our power back to the source, giving ourselves the credit in how our reality is showing up for us. So when we find ourselves in situations, again, where we're reflecting on why aren't these other people around me taking accountability? And where can I take more accountability? Where is there room for me to grow? Where can I expand? Where can I grow my voice? Where can I be a catalyst for change, even if it scares me? How can I stretch myself a little bit to grow? But having that strong reminder that you are responsible for your reality and how it is presenting itself. You are responsible for also how you are reacting in your reality. So it's important to really sit with the medicine that is being given to you and to receive everything as if it were medicine, if it were a catalyst for some type of transformation, to remember that everything is happening for you and it might be happening for your personal empowerment, even those that we don't like in our lives or seem threatening to us or even abusers in some way are our teachers and a reflection of our strength that in some way we are not uncovering. So we have to learn to regain that strength, regain that power in order to show up as fully present, activated beings in this lifetime and on our way to that self mastery. A master, someone who is fully self mastered. Maybe there's somebody out there in your reality that you could think of that is close to being that or on their way on the path, being diligent about that. And those are the people that we want to aspire to be more like, but also not putting people on a pedestal ever because we are all human and we all make mistakes. But also just noticing how can I become a greater master in my reality? And remembering that you are also responsible for your perspective of others. And what really helps me in this perspective shift is remembering that we are all innocent children, that we were all born into this world innocent. We are placed in certain circumstances and environments that shape us from a young being that cause trauma, that cause different things that line up through from being an infant, from even being in the womb, and how we are molded, how we are shaped by our environment, and how this kind of determines how we come into our adulthood. But luckily, these traumas and neglect and things like that that are stored in the body can actually be released. And this is part of the soul's reclamation. But in order to even understand ourselves on this level, we have to take accountability for our actions and how we're showing up. We have to be willing to look at ourselves deeper and look at the patterns, look at what's not working out, look at maybe the fears, the anxieties, things of this nature, and understand where they are rooted in the body and maybe what moments, what fragments of time these things happened so that we can discharge and release the energy because otherwise this energy is trapped within our body and it's creating those blocks in our body. And often when we have judgment over another person, there's some type of mirror there where we might judge ourselves. Okay. And it's not about just tolerating bad behavior, but it's just about looking at the full spectrum of your being and coming back to your center before going on rampage, because even that can be a form of disassociation because then you're not being really present with what is in your life. You're over here worried about someone else's life and someone else's situation or getting into a drama loop or something like that, which pulls us out of our center and it takes away our power because then we're giving power to a situation outside of ourselves that takes us out of our center. So this is the practice again of self mastery, to come back to our center, to remember that I am present, to remember that we are all connected. And so the judgment, the shaming, and the blaming doesn't really help anybody, but taking accountability for what is ours on a personal level is everything. So, and what does that truly mean to be accountable for you, for one's actions, for your daily habits, for your outlook on life, for your perspective, and taking accountability on what you focus on? Do you wake up in the morning and go immediately to your phone and allow the outside world to pull you in, or the world of illusion through our technology? Or do you go outside and pray and meditate first thing in the morning, and or have a ritual, a deep practice with yourself? And are you focused on elevating your consciousness? Are you focused on raising the vibration throughout your life? Are you focused on your breath? Or do you allow yourself to go into loops of confusion, or you shut down into fear or fight or flight, or really just freezing up your nervous system where then you just disassociate and you're scrolling a lot online or overly watching Netflix or something like this. So it's important to just bring presence to those patterns and look at why these patterns are taking place. And nobody's perfect. Sometimes I get up in the morning and I go right on my phone, and uh, not all the time, but a lot of but some of the time I do that. Especially lately, I'll go through periods where I'll be really good, really diligent, and then I'll fall back into other routines. And so it's just important to not have a judgment of yourself, but like taking care of yourself, really learning to parent yourself, gentle parenting to where just, hey, I'm noticing you're doing this, and like, how can we adjust? What adjustments do we need to take to create a more balanced being, to create more equilibrium, more health, more well-being in the body? So these boundaries with yourself are really important. Having that accountability for your own boundaries. What am I giving my power away to? Really questioning where am I investing my energy? Am I investing my energy into what I truly love, what I'm really passionate about, what I want, my goals, what I want to manifest, what I want to create, what I want to embody? Or am I stuck in I can't do that because of this and this, or this, and you have these excuses, or you're just not feeling good. That can hold us back a lot sometimes too. We just aren't finding the motivation or the energy, and we get stuck in these states of being where we just can't do it. And it's important to be gentle on yourself through that process too. But the more we start to bring presence and awareness to what is happening, and really start to question, what is this, and why is this occurring, but also like loving and accepting that if you just need to rest, you just need to rest, because we're being accountable for our full self, for our full being. And sometimes we need to go back and really repair things from childhood and take care of our inner child. So that is the message I wanted to share with you today about accountability, and simply remembering to have those checks and balances with yourself, uh, especially when you find yourself judging another person for their actions, or if they're taking accountability or not, because I always just feel like those are good times to really self-reflect and make sure, before you call somebody out, or, go into that space, to check with yourself. But also, on that same note, is personal integrity, having that deep integrity with yourself and how you're showing up in your reality. And if your morals and values are to um, respect one another, respect the earth, communicate clearly, these sort of things. And yet you see this happening in your community or your environment to where no one's speaking up, and something is occurring that is not okay. Where another person is acting out of integrity when they're saying they're one thing, and they're acting out of it, finding the proper way to use your voice and to hold others accountable. I feel like this is really important, and this is a little bit hard for a lot of us who, especially, view ourselves as empaths or light workers and things like that, or had things happen to us as children where we're kind of shut down, and we have this people pleasing attitude because we want to make sure everyone gets along and everyone likes us and that sort of thing. So, but growing in this strength, and this is something that the dragons are really teaching me and helping me with, to evolve into a more powerful state of being, to where as we're holding ourselves accountable, we're also holding ourselves accountable to hold others accountable for their actions. And if there's something that is happening that's not okay, and you are in a position that you can address it, okay, obviously not bringing more um, conflict onto yourself unless you can handle that. But how do we address certain things in our communities and our environments? And I speak specifically on this when it comes to working with medicines and seeing like the shadow side of working with medicine and those who are not uh, trauma informed or do not have strong morals and values when it comes to family or respecting consensual boundaries and are crossing other people's boundaries. And even outside of that space, just in our daily lives, uh, when someone crosses someone else's boundary and that person might have trauma, and so they don't know how to speak up for themselves, they don't know how to say no, and we find out, so you want on the outside find out about this, then as a community, especially communities that are starting to work with medicines, or having gatherings, having events that are intentional, right, that are we're more conscious, we're claiming to be conscious, then I believe that we have a responsibility to hold one another accountable for our actions. I would hope that others could hold me accountable for my actions. If I'm acting out of integrity, then I would want to be addressed in a good way, of course, in a caring way, a caring, loving way, not a shaming, blaming, resentful way, but in a way there's genuine concern for the behavior. And if somebody is being harmed, then we need to speak up about these things in a way that, we still feel safe, and having others to consult with on these things is important. Having teams, especially as we move more into being leaders, being healers, being guides, because even, I mean, we look at this across all the boards. It happens in the yoga communities, it happens in the spiritual communities, medicine communities, and also just regular life. It happens where, especially with leaders, I think there's an ego inflation that happens when people take on these leadership roles, or receiving a lot of following. Celebrity. We see it all the time with celebrities, that the they feel like you can get away with things or something, or I don't know. It's just like entitlement. Something happens. So just holding each other accountable, I feel like, is a really important thing as we're moving forward into this new paradigm. And I'm speaking to women who are privileged in this world, in the earth. If we look at the world, and where, women are literally fighting to take something off of their face and not have rocks thrown at them, or be murdered, be killed because they show their face in public, then we have a responsibility here in the United States to use our voice for really good big changes, and to step into that power, because we are privileged enough to actually even be able to do it, and be willing to risk judgment, be willing to risk being shamed. A lot of us who work with magic, or have that lineage of magic in our bloodlines, and you know were ostracized or murdered or burned at the stake. There's a lot of fear and trauma releasing to make happen, in order to get to where we need to be. That's why this work is so important, on working through the nervous system, discovering and releasing trauma, moving it through the body. It needs to be discharged from the body, so your whole self can be returned. Different fractals of your soul get frozen in time, where trauma is stored and memories get blocked. And it's a whole process that we need to do in order to really reclaim our voice, reclaim our power over these situations, and realize that we are co creating with the universe. We are co creating our reality. And it's just our perspective of reality. Uh, is what makes things so intense or dramatic, and also the chemicals in the body, and how we respond through our nervous system. So really just evaluating these things so that we can release them, because we are the only mammals, us and domestic animals, that can hold trauma in the body. But in the wild, in nature, animals do not hold trauma in their body, even though they're experiencing traumatic situations all the time, life or death situations. But they know how to naturally discharge energy because it's just part of being alive. It's just part of existing. Is having those fluctuations in the nervous system and having to experience fear or danger, but knowing how to not hold on to them so that they end up affecting your entire life and well-being and causing health problems, because things that are stored and trapped in the body and in the nervous system end up, if we don't address them, can cause a lot of issues in our lives, and we're not able to fully step into our gifts, fully step into our power when these things are there. So, the message again, the takeaways are just to really be accountable for yourself. Don't worry so much about what other people are doing, and be accountable for how you're investing your energy, where you're spending your time, what you're focusing on, your daily actions, your daily habits, and less blame on outside circumstances, less resentment in the world, more love, more self-care, more inner child work, and taking accountability, and also holding others accountable where it is necessary, in a good way, in a good balanced way, and more counsels. If you don't know how to handle something, well, who's on your team? If you don't have a team, start asking the universe to provide you with a team of like-minded individuals that you can counsel with, that you can communicate with, to help support and uplift your community and the people you choose to surround yourself. Because the truth is, like, a lot of us, we don't know how to handle certain situations, and this is where I'm always asking, like, where are the elders in my community that I can have these conversations with? Like, how do we but a lot of them don't even know how do we handle trauma, how do we handle abuse, how do we handle these coercion and uh lack of boundaries between people, and no consent. How do we voice this more? How do we hold ourselves accountable to bring more of this energy in, and not just for us, but for our inner child, for all children, for the next generations, so that we can help decrease the trauma that is passed down, because we are all carrying intergenerational ancestral traumas in our body and our nervous system, and it's time to release all of that. And the way that I have personally found to heal that, call it the divine dragon embodiment, but is through the vocal embodiment, through really releasing things through the voice, but the activating the voice, and learning to get myself into a flow state so that I can just allow myself to be a clear channel energy through my body for personal healing, and then also transmit that for others so they can also have a healing experience. I believe sound is incredibly powerful when it comes to healing and being able to rejuvenate cells, release energy, release trapped energy, activate our DNA, and so forth. And also movement, coupling that with a lot of more physical movement. We see animals shake in nature. We see them roll around in the dirt. We see them do these different things because that's how they're releasing. That's how they're discharging stuck energy. So we can look to nature and see how animals discharge and release energy. The birds, they're singing, they're flying, they're shaking, they're taking a bath, So we can notice these things because we are mammals. We're intelligent, advanced mammals, but we can learn about ourselves through reflecting on nature and noticing how nature just is, and it just allows things to move through it. It doesn't hold on, it doesn't stagnate energy like we do, because we have the mental process. So we end up getting stuck on things. Okay, so yeah, activating your voice is your path to sacred liberation. If you're interested in working with me one on one to really embody your voice and work with the divine dragons and divine dragon embodiment, I offer some different programs for one on one coaching. If you want to learn to clear your channel your soul song, that is an offer I do, as well as a more extensive 3-month mentorship and container that I will also share with you the techniques that I use for self-healing that you can also then share with others that allow you to embody that powerful self, the divine dragon of your aspect of yourself, so that you can really move through life with more grace and more power to make the changes that you were born to and really share your voice in the way that you are truly meant to. So check out lunastarshine.com if you feel called to work with me in any way. You can always also send me an email with any questions. And please like and subscribe if you're new to this channel and you received any benefit from this video. Leave a comment if you have any questions or interested in other topics surrounding this. And I look forward to seeing you soon.